A stranger in the testimony. Hey night listener, tonight we enter the shadows, the kind of night where streetlights blink like they're nervous, where the city's breath fogs the glass and every sound feels like it has a memory attached. Rain ticks against the courthouse windows in slow, deliberate rhythms. Footsteps echo too long in the marble hallways. A janitor hums under his breath, but no one remembers the tune. Inside courtroom 6, the air is thick with heat and silence. The kind of silence people hold when they're trying not to remember what they've seen. You're seated in the back row, not official, not wanted, but necessary. And across the aisle, tucked near the wall, is a man no one notices, except you, because he doesn't belong. He's not a reporter, not a relative, not part of the jury. No badge, no notebook, no whispered questions, just a presence, unblinking, watching. And when the prosecutor gestures toward the defendant, the man who swore he was out of town the night she died, see the stranger smile? Not wide, not warm, just knowing. If this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Comment your location and tell us, are you more drawn to the truth, the thrill, or the justice? Now lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. The stranger stands at recess. You follow, down the hallway, past the courtroom bathrooms, where light bulbs flicker like old confessions. You trail him through the stairwell, quiet steps on old stone. He exits out the fire door, into the alley where the city forgets its own corners. And when you round the corner, he's gone, but a single glove lies on the wet pavement. Black leather, no initials, no tag, still warm. You pick it up. The lining is damp not from the rain, from sweat. Someone was nervous, you knew, but pretended you didn't. You return to the courtroom after the break, and when the next witness takes the stand, the neighbor who claims she heard no screams, no arguments, just a television playing too loud, something clicks. Her story doesn't match the police report. Not quite. And when asked what time she went to bed, she stumbles. Midnight, I think, or maybe closer to 1. But the call to 911 was logged at 11:46, 6 p.m. You scan the courtroom. The stranger is gone, and the defendant still calm, still steady, hands folded. But now, he's watching you. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. That night, in your apartment, you examine the glove under the desk lamp. The stitching is pristine, the kind of item someone wouldn't drop unless they meant to. Inside the lining, barely visible, one red thread, like from a courtroom chair. You hold it up, and for a second, in the reflection of your window, you see something behind you, someone. But when you turn, nothing. Just rain on the glass and the ticking of the wall clock, steady, until it skips once, a hiccup, like time itself just remembered something it tried to forget. It was never about the truth, it was about control, the photograph that wasn't submitted. The next morning, your inbox pings, no subject line, no signature, just one email. Attached a photograph, low res, grainy, but unmistakable. She's in it, the victim, smiling, holding a glass of red wine on a balcony at night. Her hair is tied back, the moonlight catching on the thin gold chain around her neck. A timestamp in the corner reads 11:38 p.m., 8 minutes before the 911 call, 8 minutes before the scream that no one heard. You stare at it, Because what's not in the photo is louder than what is. The defendant he's missing, but he claimed to have taken the photo, said it was from the night before. A quiet evening, her favorite wine, watched a movie. Then she fell asleep on the couch and never woke up. Except you now hold evidence he wasn't even there. Unless someone else took the picture. Unless someone else was with her. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You checked the metadata. Location her apartment. Timestamp unaltered. Device Samsung Galaxy. His phone was an iPhone. Another lie. You look closer. In the far right corner, there's a reflection. Faint, warped, but definitely a silhouette in the glass door. And that silhouette has their arm raised, like they're holding a phone, taking the picture. Not the defendant. Someone taller. Someone else. You print the photo. Hold it up beside the crime scene evidence board, specifically the one marked Exhibit 9 digital photo, time unknown. This is not the same image they showed in court. That one had no timestamp. That one showed her alone in bed, not smiling, not laughing. That was the photo used to prove the timeline. This is what they left out. You visit the prosecutor's office, wait in the hallway. When he steps out of the elevator, you show him the print. His jaw tightens. I don't know where you got that. You say, it changes your entire case. He grabs your arm, delete it. But his voice breaks on the last syllable, like he's already lost control of the story. Like you've seen something you weren't supposed to. That night, you run the photo through enhancement software. The silhouette in the glass becomes clearer. A jacket, long, collar turned up. You've seen that coat before. On the stranger from the courtroom. The one who disappeared when you followed him. The one who left the glove. Your phone buzzes. A number with no name. You answer. A voice. Low and deliberate. Some photographs are better left undeveloped. Everyone lies. Especially the quiet ones. You trace the email to a location. An old library near the courthouse. One that's been under renovation for months. You slip in through the rear door. Dust and torn plastic sheets hang like forgotten curtains. It smells like ink, mildew, and old secrets. You find a reading room still half lit. On the table, a file folder. Inside, printouts of the original crime scene. And tucked between the pages, a note. Handwritten. Check the defense submission log. What they didn't enter matters more than what they did. You leave quickly. Heart pounding. Rain starts again, sharp and angled. You rush past windows, glimpsing your own reflection over and over again. But one time, just one, it doesn't move when you do. You freeze, turn back. Nothing, just you. But for a moment, you saw it. The man in the coat, watching, smiling, gone again. You return home. On your desk, the photo. On the back, someone has scrawled a new message. She smiled before she died. He never mentioned that. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The clock that never moved. You return to the crime scene the next morning unofficially. The apartment building sits heavy under a sky the color of bruised steel. The door to her unit is still sealed. Police tape sagging like it's tired of pretending to protect anything. But the building manager lets you in with a shrug and a bribe. He mutters something on the way up. She was too nice for this world. That's why it took her. You don't ask what it is. You already know. Inside, the apartment is still. Not quiet still. The kind of stillness that settles after the last scream dies. After the dust gives up, you step into the living room. Everything's untouched. The wine glass is gone. The cushions are fluffed. But the atmosphere remains a shape left behind where a life used to be. And then, There it is, the wall clock above the TV. Round, classic, no batteries, just gears, the second hand. Stuck at 11:46 p.m. Exactly the time the 911 call was made. But there's something else. You pull out your phone, compare the old crime scene photo, Exhibit 3. In it, the clock reads 11:02. You check the timestamp of that image, taken at 12:15 a.m., nearly 30 minutes after the call. So why? Why did the clock suddenly stop before the photo was taken? Unless the photo was staged, or worse, retaken. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You climb onto the couch, take the clock down, turn it over. The battery pack is intact. The AA cell is missing, not dead, gone. You check the floor, the cushions, nothing. You peer into the trash under the sink. There it is, a battery, wrapped in tissue, buried under an empty takeout box, still warm, recently discarded. You pull it out, unwrap it. There's a smear of something oily across the casing glove oil, not latex, leather. Your mind flicks back to the glove you picked up in the alley. Same make, same smell. Whoever stopped that clock wasn't trying to keep time. They were trying to control the story, because 11:46 doesn't just match the 911 call. It confirms the scream happened after the defendant claimed he was gone. But if the photo says 11:02, then the whole thing unravels. You check the apartment for anything else out of place. That's when you see it. On the bookshelf, a framed picture of her, standing on the balcony, same as the photo emailed to you. But in this one, she's holding the wine glass with her left hand. In the emailed image, it's in her right. You study the background, the building lights behind her. They're different. The photo you were sent, mirrored, flipped, or photoshopped. You pull both images side by side and finally see it. In the reflection behind her, two people, one holding the phone, the other standing just out of frame, hand on her shoulder. The timestamp may be real, but the moment it captured was meant to lie. You check the shadows behind the couch, the corners where even light won't go, because it feels like someone's still here, like someone's watching to make sure you don't look too long. You head toward the front door, and that's when you see it. A second clock, not on the wall, on the stove, digital, red numbers, flashing, 11:46. The power's on. There's no reason for it to be stuck unless someone wanted it that way. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You pull out your phone. One more message from the same anonymous number. No words, just a photo. It's your reflection taken through the apartment window. You, standing at the stove, the picture taken just now. From outside, you spin, rush to the window, but there's no one there. Only the glass and your reflection, distorted by the rain. Only this time, the reflection is smiling, and you're not. It was never about the truth. It was about control. Her smile wasn't in the alibi. You leave the apartment, but her smile follows. Not the real one, the wrong one, the one in the photo with the wine glass, time-stamped and hollow. That curve of her mouth that says, "I'm fine," while her eyes scream, "Wait." You've studied hundreds of crime scene expressions. You know the difference between a smile meant for memory and one forced for survival. This one, it was bait, and you missed it until now. You walk the city for hours, trying to clear your mind, trying to let the pieces fall into place, but they don't. They tangle. Every corner looks like him now. Every trench coat, every parked car, every figure standing still too long in the rain. You duck into a diner, same booth you always take. Corner, window view, The waitress. Janice nods without asking. Black coffee. Burned toast. She doesn't know your name, just your routine. But tonight, she pauses. You okay? She asks. You nod. She doesn't buy it. Leans in. I saw you on the news. That trial. The girl with the, what was it? Gold chain. You freeze. Yeah. You say slowly. How do you know that? She shrugs. They showed a picture. Pretty girl. Didn't look like she'd end up that way. You hesitate. Do you remember her smile? Janice's eyes flicker. Not in that photo. She didn't smile. She looked like she was about to run. You sit up straight. You're sure? She nods. Yeah. Made me uncomfortable. Like she knew something was behind her and didn't want to turn around. You pull up the image from the prosecution's exhibit, the one shown in court. No smile. Lips flat. Eyes wide. Like she was mid-thought. Caught. Now pull up the one sent to you. Smiling. Same background. Same timestamp. Only now it's not just flipped. It's been altered. Photoshopped. And badly. Zoom in on the chain around her neck. In the exhibit version, it's twisted looped once. In yours, it's perfectly centered, but the shadows are identical, down to the pixel. Same photo, two versions, one for the courtroom, one for you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You pay the bill. Janice watches you leave, like she's expecting something bad to follow you out. She's not wrong. Back home, your laptop pings. New email. No subject. The body of the message is blank. But the attachment, another image. This time, not a photo of her. A photo of you. In the courthouse, taken from above. From the gallery. And in the background blurred. But there him, the stranger. Face turned just enough to catch the edge of a smirk. There's a caption this time. You're looking in the wrong direction. You check the image's properties. It was created at 11:46 p.m., the night after the murder, the same time the apartment clocks froze, the same time the 911 call came in. This wasn't just a murder. This was choreography. You stare at the screen, and the woman's smile comes back to you. The way her head was tilted slightly, the way her shoulders were drawn in, as if she knew the picture would end up in a courtroom, as if she knew it would lie. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You open the case files, scroll through the timeline. Something doesn't fit. He said he was with her until 10:30, then walked out, said she was alive, laughing, drinking, but if she wasn't smiling in the real photo, then he lied. He didn't leave her smiling. He left her afraid. You dig deeper. Interview transcripts. The neighbor said she heard music, not TV, and the playlist they recovered ends at 11:43 p.m., right before the scream, 3 minutes before the call. So where did the smiling photo come from? You scroll one last time, pull up the original metadata from the prosecution's photo. Something new. A GPS tag, different from her apartment. It was taken 4 blocks away, on a balcony she never had access to. You trace the address, top floor of an apartment building above a law office, vacant for months, except not according to building records, rented the week before the murder, to a man with no history, no profile, no ID, just one detail in the lease form. Occupation photographer. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The handwriting on the coffee cup. You stand outside the building with the rooftop balcony just after midnight. The rain is thinner now, more like mist, soft but unshakable. The kind of weather that clings to your coat and memory alike. The leasing office next door is closed, but you know how to get in. The lock is old, ornamental, The kind that exists more for appearance than security. 2 pins, slight tension, and you're through. The elevator's busted. You take the stairs, each one groaning beneath your weight like it wants to give away your presence. Floor 5, the top. The hall is dimly lit. Half the doors bear eviction notices, sealed envelopes, or both. But at the end, the corner unit is the door you're here for. A simple brass number 5C. No name, no peephole, just the faint, stale smell of old coffee and photochemicals. You knock once. Nothing. You try the handle. Unlocked. Of course, inside, the air is thick, like someone left in a hurry, or never really unpacked. There's a mattress on the floor, a camera tripod still standing beside it. Darkroom trays sit abandoned in the kitchen sink, stained and crusted red. But it's the desk by the balcony window that stops you. 3 coffee cups, one still half full, the other 2 empty. They sit in a line, each marked with a Sharpie. One says M, one says C, and the third yours, your name, scrawled in your handwriting. But you never came here. Did you? You step back, look around. On the desk, a pad of sticky notes. The top one is blank, but the indentation of pen strokes bleeds through. You run your fingers lightly across the page. The pressure pattern is familiar. You pull a pencil from your pocket, shade over the top of the note. The words appear. Ghostly coffee. At 11:15. Smile, then wait for the click. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You step onto the balcony. The view is identical to the photograph. Same skyline, same reflection in the sliding glass door, same building lights in the same windows. You kneel beside the spot where she stood. Your hand presses against the stone rail, cold, solid, but underneath it, etched into the underside in barely visible grooves, C plus M equals. The square is empty, never filled in, because it wasn't meant to be, because the ending was already decided before the camera flashed. Back inside, you search the apartment. In the trash, a receipt. Coffee shop 2 blocks away. Time stamped 11:06 p.m. 3 drinks, 2 pastries, paid in cash. But someone wrote a number across the top. Numbered in issue 14. Not a phone number, not an address, an evidence tag. You dig deeper. In the cupboard, more coffee cups, all labeled with initials. Some you recognize: jurors, reporters, even the prosecutor. He served them all. Not coffee, control. And the handwriting. You line it up with a form from the defendant's court signature. Not a match, but it matches yours. Exactly. You take a breath you don't feel enter your lungs. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You grab your notebook, begin comparing writing samples from previous statements, old files, witness forms, and you find it. In the police intake sheet, a notation, quick and slanted. Witness claims to have been on balcony at 11:15 p.m. It's unverified. That line is crossed out in black ink, redacted, but the initials beside the note, yours. You sit down on the mattress, suddenly unsure what time it is, what day it is. The coffee cup on the desk still steams faintly, fresh, too fresh. You glance toward the mirror by the balcony, warped, cracked. Someone's standing behind you, but when you spin, nothing, just the tripod, just the silence, just the lingering scent of sugar, ink, and decay. Your phone buzzes. Unknown number. You like the smile. Now drink the coffee. The cup still marked with your name. It's waiting. It was never about the truth. It was about control. His phone buzzed after she died. You don't drink the coffee. You leave it steaming on the desk. A signal, maybe. A challenge, or a trap you finally recognize for what it is. You take one last look around the apartment before you slip out quietly, careful not to leave fingerprints. Not that it matters anymore. If they wanted to frame you, they already did. And the worst part, you left the door open years ago, back at your apartment. You pull out the case folder you've been building your own version of events. Names, photos, arrows, timestamps, contradictions. It's starting to look less like a timeline and more like a confession board. And at the center of it now is a single moment, 11:46 p.m. The time of the 911 call, the time the clocks froze, the time her scream went unheard, and just beneath that, the detail you almost missed, his phone. You dig into the digital records submitted to the court, the call logs, the text records, clean, sterile. But you remember something the defense claimed his phone was powered off from 10:30 p.m. onward, dead battery. You pull the tech audit. No signal between 10:31 p.m. and 7:12 a.m. Except that's not true. Buried in a system report line, 387 of 542, a background ping, a passive location sync at 11:49 p.m. You zoom in. Latitude, longitude. Her apartment. His phone was on, alive. 3 minutes after the scream, you knew, but pretended you didn't. You grab your own phone, check the photo metadata, again the smiling one, and there it is. The same device ID logged as offline was actually uploading data. Someone scrubbed the public records, but the raw metadata doesn't lie. You trace the ping through a service provider's diagnostic tool. The location is confirmed. And worse, there's a notification in the device log. A text message received at 11:50 p.m. sent from a prepaid number. One line. She said your name. No response. The message was marked. Read. Someone saw it. Someone knew. You look at the recipient line again. The number, not his. Yours. You don't remember ever receiving it. You check your inbox, your trash, your backups. Nothing. Wiped. But the server still holds the timestamp. And you realize you received it. You just never opened it. Because you couldn't. Because someone deleted it before you even knew it was there. Everyone lies. Especially the quiet ones. You sit back, hand trembling slightly. Not from fear, from rage. Because this wasn't just about a lie. It was about what came after. The erasure, the editing. You go to your messages, start scrolling backwards, find the same prepaid number from months ago. One message, out of context, chilling in hindsight. She knew too much, but she still smiled. It had meant nothing at the time. A prank, a fluke. Now it's a monument. You pull the burner phone from your desk drawer, the one you stopped using the week after the murder. You power it on. Messages flood in. 10, 15, 20, all time-stamped after the trial began, all from the same number. Are you enjoying the performance? You'll remember eventually. I'm just here to help. It was easier when she believed you were innocent. Check the voicemail. Your breath catches. You scroll. There it is. One unheard message, dated the night after she died. You hit play. Her voice, crisp, breaking. I told him to leave. I said I wouldn't say anything, but he smiled, like I was never going to speak again. If you get this, please, don't protect him. I know you want to, but you saw what he did. You saw me fall. The message ends. No scream, no gunshot, just silence. And then, very faintly, a second voice, low, unmistakable. Don't worry, He'll clean it up. You stare at the wall. The red thread you used to connect his name to her photo has come loose. You don't reattach it. You stare at it for a long time, because maybe this wasn't about solving a case. Maybe this was about remembering your role in it. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The mirror showed a different reflection. You don't sleep that night. The voicemail plays on a loop in your head, her voice echoing in that shaky breath, the crack in her words when she said your name, not pleading, not accusing, resigned. You replay it again, not because you doubt it happened, but because it's the only thing that feels real now. By morning, your walls are cluttered with notes, timelines, printouts, except none of them matter if you can't prove what you saw. The scream, the fall, you say you witnessed it, but so far, you've only remembered it in pieces, like someone cut the truth into confetti and threw it out the window. You go back to the building, not the victim's apartment this time, the one across the street, the one with the mirror. You remembered it earlier, something from a crime scene photo, background detail, a hallway mirror in the neighboring building, facing just right, capturing reflections from the front window of her apartment. Back then, no one mentioned it. No one wanted to mention it, because reflections don't lie. They just wait to be seen. The building's buzzer is dead. You slip in behind a tenant, fumbling with groceries, and take the stairs, 4th floor. The hallway is narrow, dim, smells like aging linoleum and wet socks. You find it easily. Apartment 4D. The door with the oval mirror hanging beside it. The mirror is cracked just slightly at the top corner, but not enough to distort what it's always shown. You stand in front of it, and you see her window. Across the street, directly aligned. The police never checked this angle. They focused on digital cameras, doorbell footage. But this mirror, it's analog, honest. You reach up, angle the frame, dust billows, and behind it, taped to the wall, a photograph. Your breath catches. You pull it down gently. It's faded, curled at the edges, but the image is clear. A reflection, her apartment, and in the mirror's surface, you see her, back turned, standing, tense, and a man behind her, not the defendant, someone taller, someone wearing the coat, the same one you saw in court, the stranger. He's raising something in his hand, a blunt object, frozen in time, an instant before impact. You flip the photo over. Nothing, just adhesive residue and a watermark from a now defunct developer. You knock on the door. A man answers, elderly, disheveled. "Do you know who taped this here?" you ask. He squints, shrugs. "It was here when I moved in. Thought it was weird. Kinda superstitious. I didn't touch it." How long ago? Couple months after the girl died. Place was buzzing with cops. I didn't ask questions. You nod. Hand him a card. "If anyone comes looking for it, call me first." He closes the door slowly. You head back down, gripping the photo like it might vanish. In your apartment, you scan the image, enhance the figure. It's blurry, but the outline of the man behind her is identical to the figure captured in the glass door from the rooftop balcony. The smile, the posture, and yes, the raised arm. A weapon, not a blur. A shape, curved. You cross-reference. A wine bottle. One of the two they found in her trash, but only one with fingerprints, hers. The other, wiped clean, but never tested for DNA, because the defense argued it was never touched. You sit back. Your heartbeat feels wrong, too steady, like your body is waiting to be shocked. And then your phone rings. Blocked number. You answer. Silence. Then, finally, a voice you know too well. You're chasing ghosts. You don't speak. The voice continues. That reflection, it's a trick of the angle, a shadow. You don't want to destroy someone's life over a smudge on glass. You close your eyes. You were there. You say. Silence. Then, so were you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The line goes dead. But something is shifting. The reflections have started telling the truth. And maybe that's what they feared most. Not being accused, being seen. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You place the photograph on your board, dead center. And this time, you don't attach red string to someone else. You pin one end of the thread to your own name. Because it's not just about catching him. It's about owning what you refused to see. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The rain that wasn't forecasted. The next morning comes soaked in silver and static. Rain drums steadily against your windows, though you're certain it wasn't in the forecast. You remember checking, but the sky doesn't care what was predicted, just like truth doesn't care what was testified. You stare out the window and think about the clock in her apartment, the mirrored photo, the voicemail, the stranger's voice on your phone saying, "So were you." You ask yourself a question you've avoided for days. Were you there? You grab your coat. The one with the frayed sleeve, the stitched up pocket, the broken zipper you keep meaning to fix. You slip the rooftop coffee receipt into your wallet, tuck the photograph behind your ID. Then you head outside. It's the kind of rain that smears the city. Reflections puddle beneath every street lamp, and no shadow stays put for long. You take the long way to the courthouse, past the alley where you found the glove, past the diner, past the newsstand where she once bought a crossword puzzle. 4 days before her death, clue number 18 across. He won't stay gone. You remember her solving it in ink. You didn't ask who he was. You just pretended not to notice. The courthouse is quiet. Trial's on break. But security recognizes you. A nod. A glance. You slip upstairs to the records room. You're not supposed to be there. But most things that matter happen where they're not supposed to. You scan the entry log. Visitor badge number 443 issued the night of the murder. Time stamped N34 p.m. Returned at 11:58 p.m. No name attached. Just visitor. That badge doesn't exist anymore. You ask the clerk if you can see the old security footage. She says no. You say please. She says she already erased it. No hesitation. Almost like she was told to. You leave, but you don't give up. Because there's another way to prove someone was there that night. The courthouse steps are soaked now. You stand at the edge of the sidewalk, watching as a maintenance worker sweeps water away from the lower stairwell. And then you see it. A faint red stain on the concrete. Lipstick tortredini, wine, washed into the cracks. It leads almost invisibly toward the parking garage. You follow it, down, echoing footsteps against the spiral ramp, until you reach level B2, empty except for one parking space, reserved, no name, no car, just a puddle beneath it, and above, a leak in the concrete ceiling dripping steadily onto the spot. You kneel, touch the water. It's not just rain, there's something else in it. You smell it, metallic, like rust or blood. You stand up slowly and glance around. That's when you see it. A security camera, broken, lens shattered, wires cut, but not recently. You trace them back to a panel, and inside that panel, a backup drive, still blinking, still active. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You rip it out, shove it into your coat, back in your apartment. You plug it in. The feed is corrupt, partially overwritten, but one file remains, video, titled only 11:46 p.m. final. You open it. The screen goes black for 5 seconds. Then a figure emerges in grainy grayscale. Her, walking down the steps, alone, holding a phone, looking back. Then him, not the defendant, the stranger. He follows her. His coat is unmistakable. He says something, but the audio's dead. She turns, drops her phone, raises her hand. Then motion blur, a flash of something arcing through the air. She stumbles, falls. The camera cuts out. You rewind it, frame by frame. On her face, not fear, resignation. She wasn't surprised. She knew. Outside, the rain stops suddenly. No drizzle, no tapering. Just ends, like it was never meant to be real. You check the weather app again. Clear skies. No record of rainfall in the city today, or yesterday, or the night she died. You refresh the page 3 times. Still clear, still dry, still a lie. You step out onto your fire escape. Look at the soaked pavement, the dripping eaves. Smell the dampness in your coat. Hear the faint tick-tick of droplets falling from your railing, and realize this rain isn't on the record because someone wiped the weather. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You close your eyes and hear it again. Her voice. I told him to leave. Then silence. Then the sound of footsteps in water. The rain that wasn't forecasted. Because if there's no rain, then there's no trace, no evidence, just reflections. And even they lie until someone decides to believe them. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The key that didn't force fit any door. You wake at 2:43 a.m. with the distinct sensation that someone's just left the room. No sound, no motion, just air shifted. You sit up. Your laptop still glows faintly with the paused security footage from the parking garage. Her fall. Caught in that moment between denial and gravity. You rewind the clip one more time, not for the act, but for what happens after. 1 second. 2. A hand enters the frame, gloved, not to help, to retrieve something, and when the hand pulls back, it's holding a key, small, silver, tagless. You didn't notice it before because you weren't looking for it. Now you are. You dig through the evidence catalog again. There was no mention of a key found on her. No entry in the prosecution's itemized list. But there was one minor notation buried deep in the inventory. Unmatched key discovered in courtroom bench. Day 2 of trial. No corresponding lock identified. No follow-up. No request for analysis. No fingerprints submitted. Because no one wanted to know what it opened. You track down the evidence locker clerk. Flash your ID. Offer no explanation. They hand it over. A small bag. Inside, the key. No markings, but smooth from wear. You hold it in your palm. Heavy for its size. You don't know what door it fits, but you know it's not random. Back in your apartment, you line it up beside your own keys. It's similar to one you've seen before, your old storage unit key from a case 3 years ago. You dig through your box of old case files and find it. A different key, but the same teeth pattern, the same manufacturer. You trace the stamp KX Storage, District 7, on the edge of town. You call the company, ask if any units are rented under the victim's name. They say no. You ask about the defendant. Still no. Then you ask about your name. The silence that follows is long enough to hear your own breath. Then, yes, Unit Beneath 14. Been active for 16 months. Auto pay. You don't have a unit there, but someone does as you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You drive in silence. Streetlights flicker like dying fireflies. Your windshield is streaked with the last remnants of the rain that never happened. The storage facility is half lit, deserted. It smells like wet cardboard and secrets. The night clerk barely looks up when you show your ID. Unit C14, back corner. You slide the key into the lock. It fits, but doesn't turn. You try again. Still no. Until you pull slightly back while turning like unlocking an old diary. Click. The door creaks open. Inside, a single bulb sways faintly from the ceiling, and under its sickly glow, a table, a chair, a tape recorder, and a stack of labeled envelopes. One per week, all addressed to you, all unopened. You reach for the top one. Your name, handwritten. The same handwriting from the sticky note in the balcony apartment. Inside, a Polaroid photo of her, smiling, but not at the camera, at you. In the background, you, or someone who looks like you. The timestamp is 2 days before her death. You check the next envelope. A receipt from a bookstore. 2 lattes, one marked with your name, but you were never there. Or were you? You check the third envelope. A note. 1 line. Memory is the most obedient liar. You step back, heart thudding. Check the floor beneath the table. A bag. Inside, another recorder. Labeled confession. Draft 1. You press play. Nothing. Then static. Then her voice again. He said he would keep me safe. That if I gave him the truth, he'd bury the rest. But I think he only wanted to bury me. She pauses. Then I'm leaving this here because I think he'll make me forget. If you find this, remind me who I was. The tape ends. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You open the last envelope. It contains a key, not for a door, a safe deposit box. Number etched cleanly, number 5 Mongin, Midtown Bank. You close your eyes because you remember now. She gave you that key the night before she died, pressed it into your palm with trembling fingers, and said, "Don't open it unless I disappear." You nodded, pocketed it, forgot it, because you wanted to, because it was easier, because she disappeared, and you never went back. Until now, it was never about the truth. It was about control. The box only opened when forgotten. The Midtown Bank branch is cold even in daylight, marble floors, fluorescent silence, the kind of place where secrets don't echo, they settle. You ask for access to box 519. The teller blinks when she sees your ID, like she almost recognizes you, but not quite. Then she nods, retrieves the necessary forms, and escorts you downstairs into the vault. It's quiet there, unnaturally quiet. The hum of fluorescence is drowned beneath layers of reinforced steel and buried guilt. You insert the key. It turns this time. The box slides out with a hollow weight. Inside, a padded envelope, yellowed slightly at the corners. A single VHS tape, labeled in handwriting that strikes a nerve if he walks free. Press play. Beneath it, a folded sheet of paper, your name on the front. Inside 4 words. You watched. You forgot. You stare at the tape. You don't even own a VHS player, but you know someone who does. Back in your apartment, you drag your old case gear from the closet. Among the dust, a portable VHS deck from an abandoned cold case unit. You connect it to your monitor. Insert the tape. The screen flares. Static. Then her. Alive. Nervous. Not looking at the camera, but slightly past it at you. or whoever's behind it. She speaks low, slow, like someone trying not to be overheard. This isn't for the police. They already decided. I'm unstable. This is for you. Because if you're watching this, you let him talk you out of remembering. You were there. The static fuzzes. She adjusts the camera slightly. You see more of the room. You see him in the background, laughing, talking on the phone, pacing. He says the case won't stick, that no one listens to girls who change their minds. But I didn't change mine. I just hesitated. She bites her lip. He thinks if I die scared, you won't look too hard. He doesn't know what you are when you're angry. Remember that. She reaches forward, adjusts the frame. Now it's closer, more intimate, eyes full of something between hope and terror. You promised me you'd listen, even when it hurt. So listen now. She opens her mouth to say more, then flinches, looks off camera, and the screen goes black. Just silence for 8 full seconds. Then he's coming. Click. The tape ends. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You eject the tape, stare at it like it might still be warm. Outside your window, the city continues like nothing happened. Horns, sirens, laughter somewhere you can't reach. Inside, your hands shake as you pick up your phone. You scroll through contacts until you find it. District Attorney's Office. But your thumb hesitates, because if you call them, it all comes out. Everything. Her tapes, your memory, the badge you wore that night, the drinks you shared, the moment you chose not to follow her when she left the cafe alone, because you were afraid of what you might see if you did, because part of you knew, and that part shut the door. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You put the phone down, not because you're walking away, because you're walking back to the place where this began, not the apartment, not the courtroom, the archive, the locked drawer in your old precinct, the one labeled closed, per witness reliability. You dig out your badge, still dusty, still official, still capable of opening doors no one else thinks to try, because the case they buried, it didn't end. It just felt silent. And silence is never the end. It's the warning. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The drawer that wasn't locked. The precinct is quieter than you remember. Maybe it's the hour. Maybe it's the years. Either way. The silence feels earned, like something finally ran out of breath. You flash your old badge at the night clerk. She waves you through without looking up. They don't recognize you anymore. That helps. You take the back stairwell up to archives. The keypad still buzzes, the same sharp and nasal, like it disapproves of your presence. But your code still works. The lock gives way with a soft clunk. And there it is. The cabinet, top left drawer. You expect resistance. You expect the lock to fight back. But it doesn't. It slides open like it's been waiting. Inside manila folders, outdated case logs, a few sealed evidence pouches, and one box, unlabeled, black. You lift it out and place it on the desk. It's lighter than it should be, like a body without a soul. Inside a cassette recorder, dusty but intact, and a small velvet pouch. You open the pouch first. Inside is a ring, not valuable cheap metal, dull with time, but you know it instantly. Hers. She used to twist it on her finger when she was nervous. You pick it up, turn it over. Engraved inside M+C. Promise not to forget. You nearly drop it, because you gave it to her. Not romantically, just a joke, a pact. When you were both working late nights on a case that went nowhere, you'd made a bet whoever solved it first would owe the other a drink and a favor. You won. She never cashed it in. Until now. You press play on the recorder. Her voice again. I'm leaving this here because I think they're going to bury everything, including me. They already said I was unreliable, that I was seeing things, making connections where there weren't any. But the connections were you. You were the one who saw him in the hallway that night. You said it was nothing. I believed you. She pauses, the sound of a match being struck, the soft drag of her breath pulling in smoke. I think he's inside your head, too. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean, he knows you, knows how you forget things, knows you want to believe you're good. You were never meant to be a witness. You were meant to be the perfect alibi. Silence. Then, but I trust you'll figure it out. Eventually. Because the truth's not hidden. It's ignored. You rewind and listen again. This time, her voice sounds less afraid and more like a challenge. You look through the rest of the box. One final item, a hotel keycard, no logo, just the number 3 submarine written in red ink. You turn it over. The kind of key that erases its own memory every few hours. But you recognize the style. The waterfront hotel, 3rd floor. You've been there before. With her. Not long before everything fell apart. Back then, it was just another case, another night, another hour you could rewrite in the morning. Now it feels like the origin story of a crime you committed by omission. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You drive out there, midnight again, always midnight. The lobby is deserted. No desk clerk, no lights. The power flickers like someone's deciding whether to let you in or not. You climb to the 3rd floor. The hallway is lined with mismatched carpet and outdated wallpaper. Room 317 is at the end. The card slides in. The light turns green. You push the door open. Inside silence. Except for one sound. Ticking. A small antique clock on the desk. Hands frozen at 11:46. Your breath catches. Because everything in this room is familiar. From the crooked picture frame to the bent floor lamp. And in the center of the bed, a folded trench coat. Yours? You step forward. Check the pocket. Inside a note. You came back. But will you stay long enough to remember everyone lies, especially the quiet ones? You sit on the edge of the bed, watch the frozen clock, and realize this room isn't just a memory. It's evidence of what you forgot, of what you were made to forget. But time doesn't erase what the soul keeps, and your soul has started ticking again. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The photograph that developed itself. The room smells like old film and colder betrayal. You don't know how long you've been sitting on the bed, watching the unmoving clock, listening to the steady rhythm of your own breath, trying not to blink too hard in case something shifts when you do, because things shift when you look away. You know that now. Your eyes scan the room again. Everything feels arranged, too intentional, like someone curated your guilt into a diorama. On the desk, beside the frozen clock, sits an instant camera, familiar, vintage, the same one from the rooftop apartment. Its lens points directly at the bed, and just beside it, a single undeveloped photo, still blank, still waiting. You pick it up. The paper is cool, faintly damp at the edges, like it's been breathing. You set it in the light and watch. Slowly, the image develops. Shadows first, then walls, then a shape on the bed. You, asleep, and next to you, her, not dead, not injured, smiling. You fumble it, nearly drop it, your fingers smudging the edge. The timestamp is today's date, a few hours ago, but you've only just arrived. Right, you look at the bed again, still unmade, still cold, still real, and then you spot it. The second photo, face down behind the lamp. You flip it. It's the same frame, same room, but now the smile is gone, and your eyes are open. You're looking at her, or through her, or maybe not at her at all. The timestamp, 11:46 a.m. Again, you check your phone. It's 11:45. You're living inside a loop, one that's been trying to make you remember what you chose to suppress. One built not from clues, but cues. You tear open the dresser drawers. Inside, dozens of instant photos, all variations of this room. You and her, you alone. Sometimes she's alive. Sometimes she's not in frame. Sometimes you're not. But one thing is consistent in every shot. That damned clock, frozen at 11:46. You look up again, and for the first time, it's moved. 11:47. 1 minute forward. Your chest tightens. You step into the bathroom. On the mirror, written in red lipstick, you're almost ready to remember. Underneath, smaller. Check the camera. You rush back to the desk. Open the film slot. Inside, not film, but a memory card. And beneath it, a key. Brass, heavy. The kind used for safety deposit boxes at banks that don't exist anymore. Etched on the side. Avalon. You freeze. Because Avalon isn't a bang, it's a hospital. Or it was. You remember now. The case years ago. The woman who died in psychiatric custody. You and the girl her were investigating alleged abuses. Illegal therapies. Induced amnesia. The kind that was designed to suppress memories. You both went too far. Dug too deep. She got scared. You got reckless. And then the car crash. No airbags. No witnesses. You survived. She didn't. Except now you're not sure that's true. You slip the memory card into your laptop. Folders fill the screen. Surveillance footage. Audio logs. Case files stamped with names you'd buried. And a final file. Redacted truth. Move. You open it. It's footage. You in an interview room. Hooked up to IVs. Electrodes. Sitting across from her. But something's wrong. Her eyes aren't right. She looks coached. She's reading from a script. You never saw him. You went home early. You had no involvement. She repeats it, over and over, like a prayer. Then your voice. What happens if I remember? Then silence. Then the man in the coat steps into frame, grinning. Then we do it all again. The screen glitches, then fades. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Back in the room, the clock ticks again. 11:48. You gather the photos, the note, the memory card. Slide the brass key into your coat. You won't be forgetting again. Not now. Because forgetting isn't protection. It's complicity and control. Control dies the moment you look it in the eye. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You step out into the hallway. Light flickers, but the air feels lighter. You're not free. Not yet, but you're facing the right direction. And sometimes, that's where truth begins. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The witness, who was never called. You don't remember driving to Avalon, but you arrive. That's how trauma works. It hijacks your memory, makes the trip vanish, so only the confrontation remains. Avalon looks like a church that stopped believing in miracles. The building is abandoned now, long since shuttered after a string of lawsuits no one wanted to prove. Ivy coils around its iron gates like it's trying to drag the truth back underground. But the gates are open, like they were expecting you. You step through slowly, the brass key warm in your pocket. Inside, the air is thick with disinfectant and something older regret, maybe. The walls echo, not with footsteps, with questions. You follow a corridor marked Wing C Long-Term Psychiatric. The lights flicker. Your own footsteps sound like someone else's. You reach a locked door. Keyhole brass. You insert the key. It turns without resistance. Behind the door is a records room, rows of filing cabinets, shelves, microfilm reels, paper ghosts. You move instinctively to drawer 17B. Your fingers stop on a file labeled Subject Clara M. Witness interview number 3. Her name, Clara. You never used it. Not after. As if dropping it would unmake the guilt attached to it. You flip it open. Inside typed transcripts, scribbled margins, a hospital wristband, a torn photograph, half of her face, half of yours, and a psychiatric report stamped unstable, unreliable. Same words they used to dismiss her from the trial. You read the transcript. Interviewer: did you see who attacked you? Clara: yes. Interviewer: who? Clara. He was smiling. It wasn't personal. Interviewer: a name Clara. He doesn't need one. You already trust him. There's a second file beneath it, unlabeled. You open it. Photos. One is of you, mid-sentence, in the courtroom, smiling. You flip it over. Stamped Exhibit B, not submitted. Another page, her handwritten note. They won't let me testify, but I'll find another way to speak, even if I have to scream in whispers. You sit down. The metal chair wobbles beneath you, because it's becoming obvious now. They erased her not just from the courtroom, not just from the record, from you. They used you as a conduit, as a firewall. You were the alibi. You didn't lie, but you let them lie through you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. There's a drawer under the desk, inside a worn recorder, the same kind they used for witness suppression interviews, supposedly outlawed years ago. You hit play. Her voice again, but this time broken, not scared, fractured. They asked me to describe him again. I told them it didn't matter, that I knew what mattered was being believed. They laughed. He told me it wasn't about the truth. It was about what people were willing to ignore. And they were so willing. Even you. The tape clicks. You stare at the machine, then realize there's something else under the recorder. A visitor log. Only one entry for the week she died. Visitor C. Monroe. Time in 11:20 p.m. Time out. No recorded exit. She never left. Not officially. Just vanished between time stamps. And the only other person unaccounted for that night too. You hear a sound behind you. Turn. A woman stands in the hallway. Coat too big. Eyes too still. For a second, just a flicker, you think it's Clara. But it's not. It's someone older. A staff member. Maybe. Her voice cracks when she speaks. Are you here to finish what they started? You shake your head. I'm here to remember. She nods once. Then don't leave without taking the truth with you. She disappears down the corridor like smoke. You gather everything, the files, the tapes, the torn photos. You don't know where it all leads yet. But you know what it ends. The forgetting, the pretending. You drive back into the city. The sun isn't up yet, but it's trying. You feel it, faint and defiant behind the clouds. You pull over outside your apartment, hands trembling. Your phone buzzes. Blocked number. You answer. Silence. Then a voice you thought you buried. She didn't deserve to remember either. You don't speak. The voice continues. But you were designed to forget. Click. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You step out of the car, into morning, into whatever comes next. Because forgetting is no longer protection. It's evidence. And now, you remember everything. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The tape they tried to burn. By dawn, the city feels unfamiliar again. Not because it's changed, but because you have. When you peel away the layers of forgetting, everything feels newly dangerous, like every streetlight is watching, every reflection recording. You don't go home. You go to the one person left who still believes in the old rules, Detective Reuben Hale, retired now, fished out of his desk 3 years ago for being too thorough, which really meant he didn't look away when told to. You find him where you knew he'd be, booth 9, corner of Kelly's Diner, black coffee, crossword puzzle, one bad knee. He looks up and sees your face. Christ, he mutters. You remember. You sit, slide the envelope across the table. Inside the photograph of you and Clara, time-stamped, doctored, but originally real. The torn visitor log, the scratched-out tape transcript from Avalon. Reuben stares for a long moment, then sighs. I told them this case smelled wrong. Told them no clean man smiles like that during testimony. You tap the tape recorder between you. Play it. Clara's voice spills out. But it's not the same as before. This one's different. He said if I confessed to lying, they'd let him walk. He said no one would believe me after what they did to my file. He said I was lucky to be remembered at all. But I'm not doing this to be believed. I'm doing this so someone else can't forget. You stopped the tape. Reuben nods once, reaches into his coat, pulls out a second recorder. The twin of yours. This one never made it into evidence, he says. I was ordered to destroy it. I didn't. He presses play. It's your voice. Cracked. Distant. If I say I didn't see anything, they'll stop asking questions. Right. Then his voice, smooth, controlled. Exactly. You're not lying. You're just protecting what's left of her. You don't remember this, but you do. Not in words, in guilt, in the way your mouth went dry when they acquitted him, in the way you never visited her grave, because you didn't believe she had one. Reuben says nothing. He just lights a cigarette. Though the diners had a no-smoking rule since 2008, you don't stop him. He takes a drag. I knew they'd try to break you, he says. Didn't think they'd make you useful to them. You look out the window. Morning rush is beginning. People chasing jobs, coffee, survival, while just beneath their shoes lies a whole network of buried names and burned truths. You push the evidence bundle toward Reuben. I want this to go public. He raises an eyebrow. You sure you nod? I'd rather burn with the truth than freeze in someone else's lie. You leave the diner, step into sunlight that doesn't quite feel earned. Your phone buzzes again. Unknown number. You answer. A voice you haven't heard in a decade. I saw your name come up. A beat. They're going to come after you now. You smile faintly. They already did. I just didn't know it. You're opening something that's been closed for a reason. You say nothing. You think you're remembering. But what if they let you remember? That hits differently, harder, because you felt it too. That nagging sense that this wasn't recovery. It was permission. You hang up. You don't need more riddles. You need results. Back in your apartment, you set up the files, scans, transcripts, audio tapes. You upload them anonymously to 3 databases. You CC no one. You encrypt everything, but you keep one copy for yourself. One final piece, a short video clip. You staring into the camera. You speak simply. I lied. You say, not with my words, with my silence. You pause, then add, and silence isn't neutral. It's endorsement. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You close the file, send it, then delete the original, because you're not doing this to be remembered. You're doing this so someone else can't be erased. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. And today, you stop being quiet. It was never about the truth. It was about control, the door that opened without a key. That night, the dreams return. But this time, they're not cryptic. They're archival. Flashes of faces, hers, his, your own, looped like corrupted footage. The courtroom, the rooftop, a hand reaching through fog, the sound of a lighter flicking open, then closed, then open again. A whisper you don't recognize. Confession is a performance. You wake up to silence so thick it hums. Then a knock at your door. 2 sharp raps. You don't move. You wait for the third. It doesn't come. Instead, a voice. You sent the file. Not a question, a confirmation. You open the door slowly. No one there. Just an envelope on the floor. You bend down. It's unmarked, no return address. Inside is a single sheet of paper, typed. You were never supposed to be the protagonist, just the cover story. Underneath a phone number and a time, 2:17, Park Bench, East Reservoir. You fold the paper, you check the clock. It's 1:49 a.m. You don't think, you move, because part of you already knows what's waiting. And who? The park is quiet. Mist on the grass, the kind of stillness that makes you feel watched, even when you're alone. Bench by the reservoir. You recognize it. She used to sit here, sketch, drink coffee, feed birds that never came. There's someone sitting there now, back turned, hood up. You approach. No sound. Until you remembered. The voice is unmistakable. Her voice. You sit, slowly, not sure if this is a trick, or a ghost, or some piece of your conscience made manifest. She turns. It's her, a little older, eyes darker, like the world's made her pay interest. But it's Clara, alive, breathing, real. You whisper it. Clara. She nods once, not like an introduction, like an affirmation. I faked the death, she says. They made it easy. You can't form words. She fills the silence. They were going to kill me, like they killed the others, like they buried you. But I heard them talking about your memory, about how malleable it was, so I used it. You flinch. You used me. She exhales. Not guilt, not pride, just necessity. You were the only one who'd remember enough to pull the thread, and forget enough to survive the unraveling. She hands you a flash drive, everything that's left. Audio, footage, the real transcripts, not the trial ones. You stare at it. You could have sent this earlier. I could have, but you weren't ready to believe it yet. You think of the mirror message, the photo, the keys. You planted the evidence. She nods, and the memories. She looks away. I didn't plant those. I just stopped burying them. A beat. Then, you weren't innocent. But you weren't malicious either. You just chose comfort over clarity. The words sting, because they're true. You knew, but pretended you didn't. She stands, looks at the water, then back at you. I'm not staying, she says. Not here, not in this name. You reach for her arm. She pulls away. If you ever really cared, she says. Don't look for me. Make them look for him. Then she walks into the mist, not vanishing, just unfilmed. You sit there, long after she's gone, the flash drive in your hand, the truth, again, entrusted to you. But this time, you won't forget. You can't. You walk back through the city like a man carrying something radioactive in his coat. Because the truth always leaves residue. You reach your building, push open your apartment door, and freeze. Because it's already open, just slightly. Enough to suggest someone wanted you to notice. Inside, no signs of struggle. Just one thing changed. The clock on your mantle. It's ticking, and it reads 11:46 again. Still, you stare at it for a long time, then pick it up. On the back, a sticky note, 4 words. In handwriting, you now recognize truth is time sensitive. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You plug in the drive, watch the files load, and prepare to finally, fully remember. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The face, hidden in the footage. The flash drive hums faintly against your laptop's port. Like it knows it's not just transferring data, it's transferring responsibility. The screen fills with folders, names, dates. One titled simply The Uncut Room. You open it. Inside a video file, time-stamped 2 days before Clara's disappearance. You press play. A static-laced feed from a hospital therapy room. You recognize it. Avalon's room 3C. You'd seen it once before, years ago, during your investigation. But this is a different angle. An internal one. A camera you never knew existed. Clara is seated, thin, pale. Her fingers folded tightly in her lap, like she's holding on to something she can't afford to drop. Across from her sits him, the man from the trial, the one who smiled too easily on the witness stand. Only now, he's not smiling. Now, he's watching her the way a butcher watches a lamb try to climb out of the pen. She speaks first. I told them I remembered. He doesn't blink. And I told them, you'd say that. They'll call it projection, trauma response. No one believes unstable women. Clara, they study them. She shakes her head. I'm not unstable. I'm awake, and he's waking up, too. At that, the man leans forward. You should be careful what you remember. Some memories are contagious. He places something on the table. A photo. You can't see it clearly, but from the angle of her stare, you know it's you. He won't help you, the man says. He'll doubt you. That's what he's built for. He thinks he's clean, but I made sure his hands would never come up empty. The screen glitches, then cuts to static. You sit back, numb. You rewind. Freeze frame the moment he drops the photo. Enhance. The image sharpens just enough to see 2 people, you and him, together, laughing, drinks in hand, outside the courthouse, the day after the trial ended. Your memory says you went home that night, but your smile on that photo says otherwise. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You open another file, audio, labeled confession. Internal review tape. B. You expect Clara, but it's you. He said if I played along, she'd walk away unharmed. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd fix it later. But later never came, and neither did she. The tape clicks off. No timestamp, just shame. You close the file, hands shaking. You stare at your own reflection in the dark screen. Not the man you thought you were, just the version they left behind when the edits were done. You scroll down, one last folder, for him, final memory, unlock password protected. You type your badge number, incorrect. You try your birth date, incorrect. Then you type Clara. It opens. Inside a single text file, you read, if you're seeing this, I did it. I made you remember. You weren't evil, just afraid. And they knew how to use that. But now, you know what they buried, and who they buried. They took my voice, so I used yours. A pause. Then, you don't have to be the hero. Just don't be the silence. The file is already being sent to every outlet I could reach. This isn't revenge. It's repair. If they come for you, run. If they ask you to forget again, burn the question with the answer. You sit in silence, the laptop screen glowing like a confession booth. Outside, rain begins tapping at the window. You realize you're crying, not just for her, but for yourself, for all the versions of you that played along, all the nights you erased because truth would have cost too much, but truth always collects its debt. And tonight, it's been paid in full. You delete nothing, you lock nothing, you upload everything, and you leave your apartment door open, just a crack, because someone will come. Maybe them, maybe her, maybe justice. And when they do, you'll be ready, not with weapons, but with memory and clarity, and every lie turned inside out. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. But tonight, you spoke. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The call that wasn't recorded. Your phone buzzes at 2:46 a.m. No caller ID. You almost ignore it, almost. But something in you knows this call isn't optional. You answer. Silence. Then breathing. Then, so, you open the door. It's him, the voice from the video, from the court, from the shadows behind the system. You don't speak. He continues. You should have stayed asleep. A pause. But then again, sleepers don't make good shields forever. You clench the phone. I'm not a shield anymore. He laughs, low and dry. You never were. You were a mirror. And I used you well. That lands like a slap, because it's true. He never put words in your mouth, just gave you the silence to choose instead. You respond, I send the files. We know. And Clara's alive. For now. You go still. She was always too smart for her own pulse. But don't worry, we won't go near her. We don't need to. You've already done the work. You whisper? What does that mean? It means the narrative is out there, but who they believe is still up to us. The system doesn't need truth. It needs coherence. You were supposed to be a closed circuit. Another pause. Then, but you cracked open. You made noise. And now noise has to be managed. The line clicks. You stare at the screen. Just a call. No number. No recording. Like it never happened. But your hands are sweating. Your pulse is racing. And you remember every word. You record your own voice in response. A memo. A warning. A time-stamped declaration that you will not be forgotten again. That truth isn't just data. It's a weapon. You go outside. The city is still, like it's holding its breath. You walk to the corner mailbox, drop a sealed envelope addressed to every newsroom with a spine left. Inside transcripts, raw footage, the names they tried to bury, and one handwritten note. This isn't for justice. This is for memory. You walk away before the mailbox can become a target, because it will. Everything does, once it holds truth. On your way back, you notice the flyer on the bus stop bench. A woman's face, Clara's, but the text says, missing, presumed dead. You rip it down, flip it over. A message written in red Sharpie. If I vanish again, it won't be because I ran. It'll be because they made the world too small to survive in. Don't let them shrink it again. You fold the paper, put it in your coat. It feels like a badge, a vow. Back at your place, the light in the hallway flickers. Inside your door, something waits. A package. No label, no return. Just a thumb drive taped to the top. And a note. Here's what we buried. You close the door, sit, plug it in. A single file. Monroe Final MP4. You hit play. a news anchor, archived footage. She reads, a witness scheduled to testify in the Monroe assault case has been deemed unreliable. Sources say. You pause, rewind, frame by frame. There, in the lower left corner of the screen, your silhouette, behind her, watching, listening, present. You weren't a bystander. You were an observer. Worse, you were confirmation. The piece they used to say, see, nothing's wrong. He's calm. He's clean. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You stand up, look in the mirror. Your eyes are tired, but awake, really awake. And now you don't look away. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. But from here on out, your silence is over. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The trial that never ended. You walk past the courthouse like it's a haunted house, still pretending to serve justice. Columns cracked, flags faded. The front doors closed, locked since the renovation began, though no work ever seems to happen. Inside that building, you were reborn once, not into truth, but into usefulness. You remember the trial now vividly, the way the prosecutors leaned on you, gently, not pressure, persuasion, the kind that comes in the form of reassurances. You're not testifying to what you saw, just to what didn't happen. Don't complicate this. Detective, she's already unraveling. They called it simplifying the record. You called it staying neutral. Clara called it betrayal. And now, so do you. You push through the side entrance, the one they used for press overflow. No one stops you. The metal detector hums faintly, then dies as you pass. You find yourself in the empty courtroom, same one from 10 years ago. Courtroom B, same peeling paint, same light bulb that flickers above the jury box, like it's still waiting for a verdict. You sit in the witness chair. The wood is cold, as if it remembers everything you said, everything you didn't. You speak aloud now, just to the walls, to the echo. To be clear, I lied. It feels different this time. No script, no protection, just the air thick with consequence. You continue. I said I never saw him enter her room. I did. I said she was confused. She wasn't. I said she asked for protection. She did. Pause. I said she never warned me. She begged me. You take out your phone, hit record, speak into it like it's the final witness. This is my testimony. You say, not edited, not rehearsed, and then you name names. The man in the coat, the judge who suppressed the tape, the hospital admin who misfiled her diagnosis, and yourself, the man who knew and looked the other way. You finish with, and I'm still afraid, but I'm done being useful to the lie. You save the file, label it, Monroe testimony, final, wave, then upload it, public drive, time-stamped, unencrypted. The silence after is heavier than applause, because this kind of truth doesn't earn claps. It earns hunters. You walk back into the hallway, see something scrawled in marker on the wall just outside the courtroom. 4 words. She trusted you once. You want to look away. You don't. You reach for your marker and write beneath it. She was right to, for the first time. That feels true. Later that night, you return home. Your laptop screen glows with headlines. 1 blog post, then 3. Then an investigative article titled, The Alibi Who Never Should Have Been. Your photo, your voice clip, your name. No going back. The man in the coat will come, or someone like him. The system doesn't erase by accident. It prunes. But maybe, just maybe, if you're loud enough, it can't prune fast enough. You sit in your chair. Clara's last words. echo in your head. This isn't revenge. It's repair, and your own voice joins hers now. I won't testify for them again, even if they promise it's easier, even if silence feels safer, because silence is a kind of participation, and you've participated enough. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Now you speak. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones, but not tonight. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The lie. They buried you. In you wake up to sirens, not the blaring kind, but the distant moan that threads itself into morning like a warning too tired to shout. Your inbox is full. 3 news outlets want interviews. 2 anonymous tips. 1 email with no subject, no body, just a single attachment, a PDF. You open it. It's a psychological profile. Subject, detective, redacted, assessment, responsive to external authority, prone to moral fatigue. Memory gaps suggest suggestibility. Conclusion, asset classification type C, contain VA affirmation. At the bottom, a single line will bury himself. As long as you give him a reason to dig, you read it again. Your own behavior, catalogued like evidence. They didn't manipulate you by force. They let your guilt do the work. The phone rings. Clara. Real number this time. You answer. She skips pleasantries. They'll flip the narrative. They'll call it survivor's guilt or psychological projection. They'll say, you're broken. You nod, though she can't see it. Maybe I am. You're not, she says. You're awake. That's different. But awake people scare them. You glance at your laptop again. The tab still open, your public confession, now viral. 1 million views. Some believe you. Some call you delusional. The ones who know the system best don't call you anything at all. They just go quiet. You ask her, finally, why come back? She pauses. Then, because you were the only one they didn't erase. They just rewrote you. And if you rewrote yourself back, maybe someone else would too. It was never about saving me. It was about stopping them. You ask what comes next. She says, that's your question now, not mine. She hangs up. You sit in the silence she leaves behind. That night, you get a visitor. No knock, no name, just a manila envelope slid under your door. Inside, a death certificate. Clara Monroe, deceased, 2014, signed by a coroner you know for a fact died in 2012. At the bottom, a new signature, one you recognize, yours. You stare at it, your own lie, weaponized against you, your guilt, now forged into proof. You scan it, upload it to the growing archive. Then you write, they fabricated more than silence. They fabricate closure. And beneath it, do not accept your memories second-hand. You step outside again, this time, not in fear, but in defiance. You walk the same street that once bore your guilt like a trench coat. Now it bears your testimony. Billboards glitching, graffiti in alleyways. Truth isn't safe. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. We remember for the ones who weren't allowed to. You smile for the first time in weeks. Not because anything is fixed, but because something is finally open. The silence is broken. And what comes next will be louder. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Now they know you do. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. And you are done being quiet. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The truth they never prepared for. The letter arrives by courier. No return address. No name. Inside, just one page. Your memory is no longer a liability. It's an infection. You sit on your bed. letter trembling in your fingers, and realize they were never trying to erase Clara. They were trying to erase the idea of Clara, the kind of person who remembers too much, who connects the dots no one's supposed to see, who speaks when silence is more convenient for everyone else. You, her, all of you who refuse to be turned into case numbers and cautionary tales. You walk back to the Avalon facility. What's left of it? It's condemned now. Chain link fence around the perimeter. But the door swings open, as if the building itself wants you to enter one last time. You step inside, peeling paint, wires dangling from the ceiling, like arteries cut from something that once lived. You follow memory, more than instinct, down to the basement. The records room is stripped bare, files gone, drawers ripped from hinges, but on the wall, scrawled in red, not erased, rewritten. You trace the words with your fingertips. They're real. They're proof. In the far corner, you find a single reel-to-reel recorder. No tape, just a label. Etched into the dust testimony is a time bomb. Is a time. Back at your apartment, your laptop pings. A news alert. Feds reopen. Monroe trial. Key witness resurfaces. And below it, breaking internal report leaked suggesting falsified psychiatric documents and suppressed video evidence. You scroll further. A video clip. You, from your uploaded testimony. Your voice saying, I wasn't innocent. I was useful. That ends now. It's viral again. But this time, no one's calling you delusional. They're calling you dangerous. That night, a knock. You don't flinch. You open the door. Clara stands there. Different coat. Same eyes. She says nothing. Just hands you a package. You open it carefully. Inside the original photograph, the one they said was never taken. Clara, the man in the coat. You, all in the same frame, all smiling. But only one of you knew it was a funeral for the truth. You stare at the photo. It doesn't make sense anymore. And that's the point. You were never meant to know which moment broke you. Just that you were broken enough to stay quiet. But not anymore. You upload the photo with a caption, "The last smile before the lie took hold." Then you sit at your desk, open a blank document, and begin to write the full record. Every name, every falsified file, every missing timestamp. You write until your hands ache, and then you write more, because you finally understand truth isn't a destination. It's a fight, a habit, a refusal to disappear. Somewhere across the city, a server goes offline. Another comes on. Your file is mirrored again. Redundancy is resistance. And tomorrow, they'll come. With threats, with denials, with rewritten versions of events they forgot you already remember. But when they ask what you want, you'll say, for someone else to read this and not doubt themselves. For the quiet ones to know they aren't crazy. For silence to stop being the safest thing. You stare at the screen and type your final words. This is not closure. This is the first breath after the chokehold. You send it, then sit back. The city outside murmurs like it's waking up too. You close your eyes, not to forget, but to let it settle, to let it echo. Because the truth is loose now, and no one, not them, not you, can cage it again. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. Final. Wind down 300 words. And now, the storm has passed, but not the tension. It lingers like mist after midnight, curling around street lamps and slipping beneath doorways. You made it through, but not untouched. The memory still burns behind your eyes. The tape still plays somewhere inside you. You don't know what happens next. That's the honest part. There are no guarantees, no final gavel drop, no warm applause, just awareness, heavy and raw. You stare into the dark, but it doesn't scare you anymore, because now you understand. Some truths don't end, they echo, they ripple, they wake the ones built to forget. And you're awake now. Maybe someone else is too. So if you're hearing this, if your breath caught in your throat and your pulse raced for reasons you couldn't name, maybe it's because the lie found you too. But it's okay. You're not alone anymore. Take the fear and make it memory. Take the silence and make it voice. Take the truth and don't look away. Not now. Not ever again. End of script. Sleep well and watch your back.